and the wall just got 10 feet taller, believe me.
Immigration is when someone moves from one country to another in hopes of staying there. The dictionary definition is the action of coming to live permanently in a foreign country. So it's quite obvious that immigration is a big modern day issue and is stirring up a lot of controversy and gets a lot of attention from the media. There are those who are for immigration and those who are against. Those who are against have a couple main concepts why they are opposed, including economic costs that goes into it, like job competition, taxes, and welfare, increased crime rates, bringing in drugs, illegal weapons, or increased theft. And then there's opposition from a traditional standpoint, those who are trying to preserve American values. These can be opposed to immigration from just one country or from any country in the world. When people migrate into countries, they simultaneously demand and supply goods. They supply by joining the workforce and supplying goods for consumers. And they demand because they need certain things in order to live. A simple labor market graph will show that with more workers in the labor market, the labor supply increases. And assuming labor demand stays the same, the shift in the supply curve will decrease wage levels, giving not only immigrant workers less pay, but also American workers in the same field of labor to be paid less as well. However, according to a 2010 survey of the economic literature, the Brookings Institute concluded that immigrants actually raise the standard of living of American workers by increasing wages and lowering prices. The reasoning behind this is that most American workers and immigrants are not competing over the same job, and cheap labor tends to be associated with immigrants, while American workers tend to be part of a different labor force. However, in my opinion, this is a little bit biased and not really reliable because there are many immigrants who have an education or the proper skills to be in a more advanced labor force. And there are also Americans or non-immigrants who may be part of the cheaper labor force along with the portion of the immigrants. And I actually work in McDonald's, which is generally associated with cheap labor and illegal immigrants. And although we have a couple immigrants who do work with us, the majority of us are US citizens, so it was good. So ultimately, with the fact that immigrants will spread throughout the labor market, both the reasoning that immigrants lower wages and the theory that they instead increase wages are essentially debunked. And it is clear that the country needs a healthy median. Clearly, there is a potential for immigrants to help the economy due to the dispersion in the labor market, but everything must be kept in moderation, and obviously if there are too many immigrants coming in, there will be a surplus in labor supply, causing wages to fall for everyone. The US population isn't just growing, it's growing rapidly. Currently, the US population is expected to reach its 500 million mark by the year 2050. Such rapid growth can put a pretty big strain on our natural resources, cities, and environment. Problems such as traffic, pollution, water and energy shortages, and overcrowded schools can be effects of rapid growth. Over 70% of the United States growth is a result of mass immigration generated population growth. Americans are not well enough aware of the mass amounts of immigrants, over 1 million a year, that the US accepts, and Americans don't understand that their impact can be either positive or negative on their country. President Trump has been notorious for suggesting a temporary ban of immigration on countries that pose a threat to the United States. Although the problems associated with the current massive growth caused greatly by immigration may become harder to handle as more and more people come into the US, and perhaps a temporary timeout could be much needed. It would give the US time to stabilize, to address problems such as overpopulated cities and poverty, and reshape the economy in its best way possible. However, completely banning immigration could also potentially hurt the US as well, causing tension with other countries or even denting the labor market. Mostly, it would increase illegal immigration rates, which already cost the US about $70 billion per year. An immigration limit of 100,000 people a year seems like the most logical approach to such a difficult problem like this, as it would be the healthy medium to this issue. It would give the United States a chance to increase in aggregate supply and aggregate demand, while making sure that the labor supply doesn't overpower labor demand, keeping wages in check. So this seems like a great plan so far, but the fact is that with increased immigration regulation, more people will try to get in the country illegally, causing even more problems for the US. Illegal immigration brings more crime into the country, committing crimes such as drug trafficking. Medical bills and other costly expenses are often associated with illegal immigration, which puts the US further in debt. An estimated 49% of illegal immigrant households use one or more welfare-related programs, concluded in a 2012 survey, as opposed to 30% of native households who used welfare-related programs. So in order for a country to function at its greatest, it is essential to really strengthen our border security to prevent many, if not all, illegal immigrants from entering. While keeping in mind that the US is about $20 trillion in debt, it is important to budget our defense by using the cheapest yet most effective means possible, or decreasing spending somewhere else, such as in the social security or military spending field. In conclusion, legal immigration can be both helpful and hurtful, and we must balance it correctly. 3 benefits of immigration are increased labor supply, increased diversity, and less tension with other countries. However, 3 costs of immigration include the fact that wages have a potential to decrease due to the surplus in the labor supply. America will lose some of its core values from a traditional standpoint, And overpopulation is a very real issue that is already taking its effect due to immigration. Being a nation of past immigrants, we don't have an obligation to welcome new immigrants because the nature of the economy and the state of the economy is always changing. And it is important to adapt to those changes through any means, even when it means decreasing immigration to only 100,000 per year. We need to strengthen our borders and figure out what is the best economic and social solution for our country, and how to adapt to rapid population growth before we accept too many more immigrants and slip into economic disaster.